Welcome to Baz Travels. After driving 14,826 kilometers through 24 states and Washington, D.C., I've seen rocket launches to the Grand Canyon and Hoover Dam. I've explored Route 66, ghost towns, deserts, snow, and beaches on both coasts. From Vegas casinos to Alcatraz, the White House to Hollywood. Join me for a journey of the ordinary and the extraordinary.
Loading destination. Simulation starting in 3, 2, 1. To look around, move your phone or tablet. Click and drag if on a computer or move your head if using a VR headset. Please like and subscribe.
Chicago's reputation for crime is one of the strongest narratives attached to the city, but the reality only makes sense when you separate perception from how the system actually works. The key point is that crime in Chicago is highly concentrated, not evenly spread, and that changes what most people experience depending on where they are. In central areas like the Loop, Millennium Park, and the Michigan Avenue corridor, the environment is built to support constant movement. You have high pedestrian volume, active businesses, strong lighting, and a visible police presence. These factors are not random, they're part of how the city manages space that attracts both tourism and economic activity. That creates a controlled environment where the risk is reduced through visibility and density. When large numbers of people are present and movement is continuous, it becomes harder for certain types of crime to occur without being noticed. At the same time, Chicago is a very large city, and conditions vary significantly between neighborhoods. Higher rates of violent crime are concentrated in specific areas, often linked to long-term economic inequality, housing patterns, and historical factors. Those areas are typically not part of the routes most visitors or central workers move through, but they are included in overall city statistics. When those numbers are reported without geographic breakdown, it creates the impression that the entire city operates under the same conditions. This is where perception starts to diverge from reality. A single citywide number does not explain how different parts of the city function, but it is often used as a headline figure. Media coverage amplifies this effect, because more serious incidents receive more attention. That attention is not evenly distributed, and it creates a feedback loop where the perception becomes stronger than the average experience. At the same time, Chicago uses multiple systems to manage safety in high-activity areas. Policing is one part of that, but urban design also plays a role. Open sightlines, active storefronts, and consistent lighting all contribute to how spaces are used and how safe they feel. There is also a strong economic incentive to maintain those areas, because they support tourism, business, and public use. That means resources are concentrated to keep these environments functioning. The result is a city that operates as a set of different zones rather than a single uniform space. Some areas experience high levels of crime, while others are designed to minimize it through structure and activity. For most people moving through central Chicago, the experience is shaped by these controlled environments. The space feels active, visible, and managed, which is very different from the broad narrative often associated with the city. Understanding that key difference is key, because it shows how large cities function through multiple overlapping systems rather than a single set of conditions. This is why Chicago can have a strong reputation for crime while still providing areas that feel stable and accessible, because both realities exist at the same time, depending on where you are.
Big bro, excuse me, can I ask you a question?
Simulation terminated. Please comment, like and subscribe.